Hey everybody, it's Rami Marks here, Tangled Yogi. Happy winter solstice to you. We are going to do a really fun class today. We're calling this the Moroccan wishing star, and I hope you're going to enjoy. Things that you are going to need for class today: you will need a Micron PN pen. You will need to have a scissors nearby to cut out your star. You'll want to have a ruler to measure where the center of your star is going to be. And then you will also need to have a circle maker. I'm really loving this one. It goes in my Tangle bag quite easily, so I really like it. And then finally, to print out your star, you're going to go to firstpalette.com. They have free palettes that you can print out, and right now, or rather free templates that you can print out. And this one that I'm using is the 6-inch star, but you can use any size that you want. I think they have ones that go up to even 8 inches, which would be so cool to decorate your house with for the holiday season. And you know, stars aren't just for the holidays. You can leave them up, and I just think they're beautiful to look at and enjoy. So with that said, let's get ourselves started on this really fun Moroccan wishing star class. Okay, so we are up in snowy Lake Tahoe for this very special edition of class, and I thought I would share with you this beautiful video of the snow falling while we're doing our meditation. So let's go ahead and get ourselves centered before we begin our class. So take a comfortable seated position, however that best works for you inside of your body today. Allow your feet to make connection with the floor, and allow yourself to sit back into your chair, pressing down through your hips, and allow your spine to grow tall here, letting your shoulders melt down away from your ears. And just take a moment to feel your breath as it rolls in and out of your body. On the inhale, feeling the body expand. On the exhale, feel the body as it softens. Inhaling, feeling the body expand. Exhaling and feeling the body soften. Inhale, feeling the body expand. And exhaling, feeling the release. With each breath, allowing yourself to just relax even more into your space, softening in your facial features, in your forehead, allowing the eyes to close if you haven't already, softening in the jaw and in the tongue, and taking a gentle swallow to relax the throat muscles. Relaxing through the shoulders and the arms, allowing the chest to be open, belly soft, hips relaxed, legs released, and feeling your hips and your feet making connection with what you're sitting on, and the feet making connection with the floor. Allowing the entire body to be at ease. And as we rest here in our meditation, setting an intention for your Zentangle practice today, what has drawn you to class? The chance to create, the chance to learn something new. Maybe this is your way of taking care of yourself. So just setting your intention. And then, like you were holding that intention like a balloon, just let go of that balloon. Taking in one more deep breath right here in this space. Letting it go with a sigh. and then wiggling in the fingertips and wiggling in the toes. Gently blink the eyes open, and let's get ready to tangle. Okay, so let's get ourselves started here. I hope you enjoyed our meditation. So that is the view from my desk where we're recording today. So I get to watch that beautiful snow falling outside of my window. And you can see that I have my really fun Moroccan wishing star here. We're calling it the Moroccan wishing star because one of my students had noticed that this little point right out in here almost looked like a wishing bone. And so this is for you, Tracy. That's why we're naming it the Moroccan wishing star. All right, so we're going to take this bad boy off to the side. We've got a couple of tangles here, so maybe I should hold it close just for a minute. So we've got verve here, right in the center of the legs of our star here, and then of course we have tipple, which is always fun. And then in the center here, I'm not actually sure what the name of this flower is, and it may be a Rami creation or a Tangled Yogi creation. So we'll have to find out from the viewers if you guys know what the name of this star actually is. There's always tangulations and it's hard to keep it all straight, so I try to do my best whenever I can. Of course, we have some flux in here, and that's always fun. This is a really great basic tangle, so if you have kids around that you want to do this class with, this is a really great one to do with the kiddos, but it's also great for anybody who wants to play. One thing that I was remiss in mentioning with what we're going to need for class, you're definitely going to need some color pencils, so make sure you have those nearby. We'll be doing shading techniques in this particular video as well. All right, so let's get ourselves started. So I'm going to take the star away, and you can see what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pencil and make a line going down the center of the star here. Now, because we're going to be folding the star a little bit later, center doesn't necessarily mean when you look at it and look at the center and think, oh, that's where I'm going to be putting the center of the star. For this particular piece, when I was working on it, I actually had to go about 1 5/8 up from the bottom to get where the point of center would be for folding. So I'm just going to take my ruler here, and I'm right along this line that I've done, and I'm lining this up really nicely here, so you can see that I'm starting from this point, and I'm coming up about 1 5/8 here. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a dot right there. So when I talk about this, you can see that my folded star is off a little bit because I went from the point that I thought was the middle, but when I come in here as well, you can see when I measure from the bottom here, it's about 1 5/8 to the point where it is folded. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully that does for you guys. All right, so I'm going to come up 1 5/8 from the bottom here, make a little dot so I know where I'm going to land, and then that's going to be my center point for the star here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my circle holder, or my circle maker, and I'm going to come in with my circle maker here. And hopefully you can see what I'm up to. And I'm going to put that point right smack dab in the middle of my circle maker here. And this is the small circle that I'm making first. And I'm just going to come in and make that first circle. And then I'm going to go up a little bit, and I'll come in and I will do the second circle right around the first circle. So the first size was 1 3/8, and the second size is 1 3/4. That makes sense? Hopefully that does. And now you can see we've got the center of our star. If you need to pause me here to do your circle, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, we're going to just keep on rolling. Okay, so we are just going to keep on rolling here. And for those of you who are ready to go with me here, you can see I've already done this line in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to bring in the points from the legs towards the center or out towards the center here. So I'm just going to go ahead and from that center point, I'm going to go out to my legs. You can see that I'm not using my ruler for this part because, you know, I try not to use that many tools in my piece because I want to keep the piece as organic as I possibly can. So I've got this one going in this direction, and then finally this one going in this direction. So there is the string to our piece. Now, those are the center, the center strings, but I'm going to do one more set of strings, but they are not going to go all the way into the center. They are going to come from the indentation points. So you can see that I'm going to go, but I'm only going to let those hit the outside of the star, or rather the outside of the circle here. So I'm just bringing those in to let them hit, but not go all the way to center because that will be a little confusing for us. Okay, so does that make sense? Hopefully that does. And that, my friends, is our string. So in the Zentangle world, we talk about how we divide our space, and that is the string for this particular piece. Now you can see that this template you could do so many things with. This is just one way to do it. So there it is. All right, we are going to keep on rolling, but if you feel the need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, we are going to start with our center piece. So I'm just going to come in with my micron pen, and I'm going to make a circle around that point in the center, and it's going to be about the size of a pea. So once I have that, I'm going to start to build off of it. Now, I love the Tangle Well, and I use this a lot when I'm teaching for people to learn how to do well or spoken. So here we go. You can see that I have that vertical line in here, and I'm inside that inner circle. All I'm going to do is I'm going to do the number 6. See how that turned into the number 6? Now, I'm going to turn my star to help me with the piece here. I'm going to the next leg of the star, and you can see this is one of the long legs. I'm just going to come to that upper point, and I'm going to make another 6. I'm going to turn my star again. I'm going to the next leg right in here. Make this a little bit bigger for you so that you can really see what I'm up to. I'm on that long leg right here, and I'm just going to come in and make the number 6. I'm going to turn my star again. Here's the long leg. I'm staying in the legs of the star here when I make these. Here's the number 6. And then finally, I'm going to turn again. I'm in the last leg here, and there is the number 6. And then I'm just going to come right back to center, and there you can see I have in the tangle world a tangle that we call spoken, which is a really fun tangle too. You can do so much with this particular tangle. So if you need to pause me here, remember, we're just using the lines that are inside the legs. Go ahead and do just the center here. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on rolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come now to this line right here. Make that a little bit bigger for you so you can really see what I'm up to. And I'll come to the halfway point and I'll just make a little dot. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come from that back line and connect. I'll turn my star, and I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm right here on this line, I'm coming to the halfway point, and I'm going to make a line from the back line and connect. Turning my tile. I probably should have cut my star before I started this. So I'm going to go ahead and make my little dot at the halfway point and connect. I'm turning one last time here. Actually, this will be the second to last time. Coming to this line right here, make a dot on that halfway point and connect. And last one right here. Making a dot and connecting. So you can see now that I've got that really nice flower right there in the center, which is really, really cool. So if you need to take a moment to pause, go ahead and pause. Otherwise, we will join together in a moment. Okay, so we're going to start to build in the center here. So I'm going to come right into this petal right in here. And I'm just about 1/4 of an inch out from the center here. And I'm going to start to make what looks like a question mark. You can see how I just paused right there. Now, all I'm going to do is at the edge of that question mark, I'm going to make a rounded connection to the petal. That is going to be all I do inside of this particular piece. So I'm just going to turn my paper. I'm going to come in about 1/4 of an inch away from the center here, and I'm going to make that question mark, and then I'm going to round out the edge here. Turning my paper, coming about 1/4 of an inch away from the corner, making that question mark. And then I'm going to round off and come back to the edge. Same thing again right here. Coming in about 1/4 of an inch, make that question mark, round off. Last one right here, 1/4 of an inch back, and round off. Yep. So now we are back to center. Let's get that so that it faces upright here. And you can see that that looks really nice in the star here. Now let's talk about the paper just for a second. You know, normally I work on really heavy cardstock so that the paper is really nice and thick, but for stars and folding, you actually want to work with lighter paper because lighter paper is more malleable. So I'm actually working on a really nice light cardstock that I could roll through my computer, or rather my printer. I would say that this is probably like 45-pound, maybe 50-pound paper. So really, really lightweight so that it folds easily. If you want to cut out your star earlier, you're welcome to do so. I'm keeping my star on the page for now, but I may change my mind in a few minutes. We'll see how it goes. All right, so we're going to start to work on the outer edge of the star here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my piece, and you can see that I'm right here, and we're going to do some flux. And flux is just going to come straight out of the indentation of the star that I have. So all I'm going to do is come up, out, and make a teardrop shape and drop back in. Then I'm going to round off on the side. So I'm going to go one and round off, almost like I'm making a heart. I'll go to the other side and round off and make the other side of the heart. And then I'm going to do one more right off the side here and hit, and then one more off the side here and hit. I'll turn my page, come into the next one right here, do a little flux, come off the side like I'm going to make a heart and drop right back into the center. Do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm just going to come off the side here and hit, and off the side here and hit. Let's do one more together. So I'm just turning my paper here. Coming in, here comes the flux. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a heart, make the other side of the heart, and then round off and hit, and round off and hit. Go ahead and do these two other pieces on your own, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so here we are, and we're going to just keep on rolling here. So we're going to start to work in these indentation areas here. So I'm just going to turn my star like so. And you can see that I have my vertical line that's coming down from the tip of the indentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down the center of that line here, and now on either side at the center point, in between the vertical line that I have over here, I'm going to make a dot here, and I'm just going to make a dot here. Make sense? Let's blow that up so you can really see what I'm up to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a leaf-like shape that comes down from the top, and this is where you can see where Tracy thought that this looked like a wishing bone here. So I have that leaf-like shape, and now I'm going to come into the inside, and I'm going to aura the inside just like so. So there's our wishing bone leaf shape there. I'm going to turn my tile, go to the next indentation here. You can see I'm going down that vertical line. I'm going to the halfway point between the two lines here, and I'm going to make a dot here and a dot here. And once again, I'm making that leaf-like shape, 1, and 2. And then I'm going to come from here and I'm going to go ahead and do the inner aura. So let's go around the star and do that together. So I'm at the next indentation and I'm going to come down the vertical line. I'm going to do 1 dot here and 1 dot here in between these 2 lines. And then I'm going to go ahead and make that wishing bone shape or that leaf-like shape and aura the inside. Here I go again, into the indentation we go. Coming down, make the dots. 1 and 2. Go ahead and aura. And here comes the last one right here. You can see I'm coming down the main line here. 1 and 2. And there's the last wishing bone. I think he almost looks like a little turtle, but you can see lots of different things inside of here. All right, so take a moment to catch up with us and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so here we go. So we're going to start to work in the legs of the star here, and I'm right here on the center line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I'm going to eyeball where I think center is, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make that small pea-like circle right there. And this is going to be the beginning of verve here. And remember how we started with the number 6? We're going to do the same thing again. So you can see that I'm coming down from the point at the top, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop down and make the number 6. And then I'm going to come off the side here and I'm going to make an upside down 6. So I'm just going to peel off the side and watch. I'm going to come down and have it land right next to that leaf. It lands right in the corner there. So that's the beginning of verve. Okay? Now to do verve, we're going to do some aura. And what that means is I'm going to come in right here on this upside down 6, and I'm just going to go ahead and aura the outside of that 6. It actually looks like the number 9, so let's just call it what it is. So there's one aura, and then here comes the aura of the number 6. So we're just going to come in right here and do this right over here. So that is verve. Easy peasy, easy peasy. Okay, so let's go around and do that one more time in the next leg here. So I'm turning my piece clockwise here and I'm coming down to where I think the center is. I'm going to make my circle. And then I'm going to come down from the top and I'm going to make that 6. And then I'll come off the side and do the 9 here. And I'm letting it land right there in the corner. Let's make that a little bit bigger for you to see. And then we'll do our auras. So we're going to do 2 auras off of this. We're going to go 1 and then 2. And then we'll do an aura of the number 6 here. We'll go 1 and 2. So go ahead and go all the way around your star. So we'll do the next few legs on our own. So we'll do 1, 2, 3 legs on our own, and we'll meet back here in a minute. See you soon. Don't forget to breathe and enjoy what you're doing. So we're going to start to fill in around the areas of our verve, and we're going to use tipple to do it. And I want to talk about varying the size of the tipple that you're doing. And tipple, for those of you who are not familiar, is just a cluster of circles. Now for this purpose, we want to make sure that we do the large tipple first. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and make some very large circles or orbs so that I'm filling in the space. Now later on you'll see the method to my madness, because you won't have to do that much puddling around your around the tipple. So you can see I'm doing some pretty big circles in here. And now I'm going to start to squeeze in some smaller circles, some medium-sized circles in there. And you can see how interesting that looks when you do that. So you really want to focus on a variation of the size here. So you can see I'm going in and making sure that there's a variation in the size. And then finally I'm going to come in with some teeny tiny little tipple just to fill in that space. And once I've done that, I'm even going to go into the sides here and get a little bit more done. Now you'll notice that I get these little areas that have like little triangles in them, and that's where I'm going to do some puddling, and you can see that I'm just barely filling in those spaces around the tipple just to make it look interesting. Now you can see that my paper is moving a little bit, and that's just because the cardstock is really light and it just moves a little bit more. You can see I've got a little triangle here, so I'll fill that in and that in. I've got a little bit over here that I can do. And so you can see I'm just working it in, but when I actually get done with all of that black, you can see how that anchors the piece and gives it such interesting dimension and really makes it feel like it's finished. So I'm just coming in and finishing up these areas in here, and then I'll go in and grab those little triangles and really add a little bit of depth to the piece just by creating. Pretty fun, pretty easy. You're going to go around to all of your legs and do that. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of minutia work, but actually this is where the zen is. You know what you're doing, so you can just let yourself relax and enjoy making the tipple and then filling in the spaces around them. And I want you to have a mantra in your mind. Variate the size of the tipple, okay? So making sure you do different sizes of the circles so that it makes it interesting and less for you to have to puddle later, okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around and do all the tipple and then puddle in between each of the tipple, and that just gives it a little bit more depth, which I really love. I love seeing a lot of the dark black in there. It just makes it much more graphic and beautiful. So we're going to do a little bit of work around the centerpiece in here, and what I want you to notice is when I make this a little bit bigger, you can see that I have those little triangulations in between the flux and the outside of that circle. So all I'm going to do is just go in and puddle in around. And if you want, what you could do is you could follow the circle line all the way around on the outside, if that works for you, and you feel like your hand is steady enough. All I'm doing is just going around and making that circle line, and then I'm going to go in and fill in the little triangular shapes that have been created by the petals themselves. So you can see that I've got these spaces right in here where I'm going to go ahead and puddle in. So you can go all the way around your piece and do that circle line, and then go ahead and puddle in those weird kind of little areas that don't make it quite into the outer edge of the circle. Okay? All right, I'll see you in a minute. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've gone all the way around, and now I'm going to do just a little bit more work right around the center. I'm going to do a little bit of crescent moon, and it's going to create this really pretty star feeling around the piece. So all I'm going to do is I'm right here at the bottom, and I'm going to create that half moon coming in from leg to leg. Can you see how that happened? So I just went from this leg of this one to this one over here. So I'm just going in and finishing in and working my way around from leg to leg and petal to petal. Can you see how that's working out? Now, if you need to move your tile to do this, you can absolutely move your tile to do this. I'm finding it fairly easy to do it stationary, but whatever works for you works for you. So you can see how I just went from leg to petal, leg to petal, leg to petal. And now I've got this really beautiful star that I can puddle in through the piece. I'm almost. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to puddle. And you can see that I'm using my pen in a circular-like motion when I puddle so that it really gives me a nice disbursement of ink. And also remember, the lighter you touch the page with your pen, the more the ink will flow. So really nice light hand here. As Rick likes to say, you almost want to be able to take the pen right out of your hand in a very gentle way. So I'm just turning the tile and puddling in those triangles that I've got there that were created just from doing those really cute little crescent moons. My pen is giving me a little bit of a hard time here. I think I might be on the edge of the end of this pen. Luckily, I have another one nearby, always keeping pens nearby. I'm just going in and puddling around. So that now when I've gone all the way around, I've really got this nice, strong piece. I must be applying too much pressure on my pen. So there it is. You have that really nice star that has been created. And, just get in there and clean up any little white pieces that might be poking through. Okay, so if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to pause me. Otherwise, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go ahead and go all the way around, and now it's time to do color time, woohoo! So what we're going to do is we're going to be working with 4 different colors. So if you are intimidated by working with color, you can follow along with me, but if you're feeling inspired and want to try your own colors, I totally encourage that. So here we go. I'm going to be starting with the central color here, and I'm going to actually start with a red. I'm feeling kind of festive, and so red it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with this central point right in here. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for everybody. And we're going to just start by creating an orb-like feeling. So I'm going to start in, and before I even do any color, I am going to talk about a little color theory, just for those of you who have never taken class with me before. So we have 3 colors in a color pencil. We have our light, we have our medium, and we have our dark. Now, what that means is we have light, pressure, medium pressure, and heavy pressure. That's what creates these different colors that you see on the page here. Now, if you are working with a color that is very light in its pigmentation, so here I have this really pretty kind of light brown, and if I do the medium pressure and then I do the hard pressure, there's very little difference between the two. So sometimes it's nice to have a color nearby that's a little bit darker to give you that extra oomph, and you can see that this is just a little bit darker brown than what I started with in the beginning here. The same can be said for if you're working with a light green. So I have this nice light green, and if I do my medium and I do my dark, you can't really see the difference between the two because there's just not that much pigment in the color. So by taking a color that's a little bit darker in its presentation and pigment, you can create some really beautiful shading, and that's what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to go back to the red. Now, because this red has a lot of pigmentation, I don't have to worry about having an accent color for it, but you can always grab one if you want. So I'm just going to come in, and with that light tension, I'm just going to start in by shading very, very lightly, and you'll notice that I'm going to leave a little light in this upper corner over here. So I'm just going in with very, very light tension first, and remember, you can always go darker later. And then I'm going to come in with medium tension about halfway through the light color that I just created. So you'll see that I'm leaving some of that light color first, and then I'm adding in some of that medium color, Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to press nice and hard on that pencil right along the outside line here, and that's going to give me a very orb-like feeling in the piece. And you can see that that really developed that and created a very nice orb feeling. So if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to pause me so that you can do your central piece. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to start to do what I call carrying color. And when we carry color, it just helps the eye to land in a really interesting way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to work now in these outer legs right in here. Can everybody see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up on this pencil quite a bit. Can you see how my hand is way back here? That means I'm going to be laying down a lot of color in a very short amount of time. When you are up at the top of your pencil, that means you're doing detail work, and that's fine. Both of them are good, but when you're doing detail work, laying down lots of color is very, very difficult. But if you're back up on the pencil, you're going to be able to lay more color down. So here's what I mean by that. So I'm really far back on the pencil, and you'll notice that I'm using the side of the pencil a little bit, and that's what's helping me to get a lot of that pigmentation down in a very short amount of time. And you can see that as I'm moving this pencil around, I'm moving it in a circular-like motion. Can you see how I'm moving in a circle? I'm going to speed it up. That's what it looks like when it's sped up. This is what it looks like when it's slowed down. Okay, so working in a circular-like motion is going to keep you from getting scratchy lines on your paper, because if you're going like this, you're going to get a lot of scratchy lines. If you're working in a circular-like motion, it distributes the pigment onto the page in a much nicer way. So I'm coming in, laying down that really, really nice color here. Once I've had a chance to do the light, now I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the shading a little bit more. So can you see how I have this line right here? I want this line to look like this whole piece is casting a shadow on this whole piece. So I'm going to come in and notice how I've come a little bit further up on my pencil because I'm starting to do a little bit more detail. And I'm going to press down so that I get a medium tension on my pencil. I'm working in a circular-like motion, and I'm coming about, I would say, an inch out on that. And I'm not leaving a line of demarcation. You'll notice that I'm kind of going back and forth. I want it to have kind of a soft fade off here. So once I have that medium tension, now I can come back in with that darker tension. So now you can see that I've climbed up on the pencil a little bit and my hands are closer towards the top of the pencil. So I'm really getting in there, adding a little bit of that darker color. So now you can see I've got my light color, I've got my medium color, and I've got a dark color. And I want to fade off that dark color a little bit so that we don't get a strong line of demarcation there. So you can already see that that's developing a nice texture and a little bit of interest in that particular tangle. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I want this line to look like it's on top of this line, right? So I'm going to come in, I'm going to start to shade with that medium tension first, working in that circular-like motion. And you'll notice that as I get further out, I'm lightening up on my pencil because I'm trying to fade it off. So I'm lightening up on the tension that I'm putting on that pencil. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a little bit heavier tension right in here. So this is giving me the darker aspect of the color. So now you can see this line looks like it's on top of this one, and this one looks like it's on top of this one. It's got a really nice circular feel to it. I'm going to start to develop a little bit of shading up at the top here. So I'm going to come down with that medium tension. Notice how I'm working in that circular-like motion. And then up at the top here, I'm going to really develop that nice heavy color, and then I'll start to fade off. I'm lifting my pencil up so that I don't get a hard line of demarcation. See how pretty that is? Next part right in here, we're going to come in and do a little bit of medium tension right here. I'm going to come up about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. Then I'm softening it up and lifting my pencil away from the page so that I fade out. Now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do a little bit of heavier tension in here now. So you can see you can get so much out of these pencils. I'm lightening up as I fade off so that I have the dark, the medium, and now look at how pretty that light is in there. It really gives that such an interesting feel. So now you know where we're going with this. I'm going to go around to each one of these legs and I'm going to do the exact same thing. If you need to rewatch that last part of the video, go ahead and do so, and then that way you'll feel more informed as you go back around, okay? Don't forget to breathe, relax, and enjoy what you're doing. This is fun. I'll see you soon. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around and really develop those legs of the star here. So pretty. So verve is really starting to come alive with all of that shading. Isn't that so fun? I love to watch a piece come into fruition, which is really beautiful. So I'm going to start to introduce a new color, and I'm going to start with that really nice light tan that I just showed you a couple of minutes ago. And we're going to come right back into the center again, and I'm starting with the lighter tan first. And let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. So I'm going to come up in here and I'm just going to start to bring in that light tan color into the petal here. And you can see that I'm in this kind of wave-like part of the petal. And because we know that this color doesn't have a whole lot of pigmentation, I'm going to go ahead and grab that darker color, right? So I'm going to come in and very, very lightly, I don't have to press hard with the darker color because the darker color is going to already show itself and I don't have to press hard to prove it. And so once I've got that darker color in towards the bottom here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press a little bit harder towards the bottom, and that's going to give me the depth that I'm looking for in that petal. So you can see that that gives it a little bit of pop, yeah? So I'm going to go around now to all of these petals, and I'm going clockwise here, and I'm going to start to shade in just the top of the question mark. So the part that looks like a wave is what I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to shade in, okay? So I'll go around to each one of these and start to lay down that color. And then I'm going to eventually go back in and reshade like I just showed you. So I've gone in and I've shaded all the way around the circle in here. Now we're going to add some of that darker shading. So I've got the darker pencil in my hand here, and I'm just going to start to bring in a little bit more of that darker color in. And you can see that I'm not having to press hard here. It's just coming in nice and light. And then I'll go around and I'll add a little bit of that darker tension right along the bottom here. So you're going to go around to each one of these now and add in a little bit lighter of the darker color and then a little bit darker of the darker color. Okay? All right, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, after I've done the star in here, which looks really, really nice, I'm going to start to carry that color outward. And that color is going to come out into these petals here. So I have the same two colors. I'm going to start with the lighter color first, and I'm going to begin to shade inside of the petal. And I'll blow this up nice and big for you. So I'm really just starting to lay down that color nice and lightly into the petal here. And then once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and grab the darker color and very lightly start to shade in about halfway through that petal. Now notice that I'm working the pencil in a circular-like motion, keeping it nice and soft. And then once I've had a chance to lay down that very, very light tension with the darker pencil, I'm going to start to press a little bit harder towards the bottom and give it the depth that I'm looking for, because we really want to pull the eye in towards the center of the piece. So you can see just by doing that, it really gives this whole piece a nice depth. So you're going to go around now to each of your flower petals and you're going to do the exact same thing. I'll see you in a minute. Take a breath, maybe put a little smile on your face to relax your facial muscles, and enjoy what you're doing. See you soon. So you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around with that, and it's really, really pretty. I'm enjoying the contrast between the tan and the red here. So we're going to carry this tan one more time, and we're going to carry it inside of the verve here. So I'm going to take it and bring it inside the verve, and once I've brought it inside of the verve, I'm just going to go lightly first, and then once I've done that, I'm going to pick up my darker pencil, and I'm going to go ahead and press with a little bit of tension to get a nice darker color, and then finally I'm going to go with my darkest tension and give it the depth that I'm looking for, and you can see that it pops off really nicely with that red. So go around to all of your verve in the center and put that tan in there or whatever color you're using inside of your petals, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in a new color here, and I've got this really pretty blue that I'm going to work with. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start to work with the blue inside of the petals here. So I'm going to start right in here in these pieces in the center, and I'm just going to go in towards the center very, very lightly with the blue and lay down that first color. Once I've got that very, very light blue in there, and I'll make sure that this is nice and big for you, I'm going to go in from the bottom here, nice in that little V, and I'm going to start to add a little bit of that medium tension coming up, and this is going to give it a little bit of depth to pull you in towards the center. And then finally I'm going to add a little bit of pressure to that pencil, and you can see that that gives that a lot of depth. So you're going to go around to each one of these petals and do the exact same thing. So you're starting with your light, then you go medium, and then you go dark. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to carry that color just a little bit more here. And what we're going to do is we're going to carry it into these petals out here. And so we're going to start with the same principle of adding light first. So I'm just going to add the light first in here, and really laying down that color very, very faintly. You can see that I'm working that pencil in a circular motion. And then watch, I'm going to dip into the well that's down here at the bottom just to create a little bit of depth here. Now I'm going to start to add a little bit of tension right on the sides just to give this a little bit of shading, and I'm doing this with a very medium-like tension, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So notice how I'm leaving a little bit of light in the center here and a little bit of light at the top in here. So I'm just getting that nice soft medium tension in on the sides. And then finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of darkness coming right in at the edges, almost like we're giving that that petal a little bit of a blush, if you will. Yeah. So go ahead and go all the way around with light first, then a little medium on the side, and then a little bit of darkness right on the edge, right in here and right in here. And you'll go to each one of your petals and do that very same thing. Now at the bottom of your verve, you're going to leave that alone. We're going to probably carry that red right into the well that's underneath your verve, okay? All right, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so every time I sit down to do a tangle, it never comes out the same way twice. And so what is becoming apparent to me on this one is that I need to pull the red down from the verve into the flower for this one. So you can see that we've got these little wells of white. So all I'm doing is going back in with that red that I started with, and I'm using my heaviest tension and carrying it into those wells where I still have the white at the bottom of the verve here. Okay, so go ahead and go all the way around and just pull that hard tension right into the bottom of the well, and you'll see that that develops a really, really interesting pattern that I didn't get the first time around, but I'm getting it this time. So, you know, it's always a different thing, and I'm always learning new things as I go with Zentangle, and I try things differently. And so I encourage you to be nimble and malleable that way as well. So go ahead, fill in those wells with that heaviest tension, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to start to add the last component, the last color into the piece here. And so I have this really pretty apple green, and then I've got a really nice forest green that I'm going to use for the shading of it. So I'm going to come into the flux that we have over here, and I'm just going to shade in flux very lightly with my lighter color, with the apple green first. And I'm just using that really nice light tension. Now I'm going to pick up my darker color here, and very, very lightly I'm going to come about halfway out of the flux here, and you can see that I'm using that nice circular motion. And then finally I'm going to come in and press really nice and hard right in the tip of where the flux meets the star here, and that's going to give me a really nice depth. So you're going to go around to each one of these and do that very same thing. Take in a nice deep breath, exhale it out, and go ahead and have fun. So this is really coming along nicely here. This is one of the prettier ones I've done, I think. So we're going to take that green color and we're going to carry it a little bit, but we're also going to intersperse it with a little bit of gray. So one of the things that I've really been enjoying lately is seeing color next to graphite. So I'll show you in one of the sections kind of how we're going to do this here. And I'm also going to just show an example of one of the other pieces that I've done. So you can see in here that I've taken some of the blue out of the petal and interspersed it in my tipple with some of the gray, and I even took some purple from out of here and put it in with the gray as well. On this one, I think I'm just going to take my green and my gray and work those two together, but you never know. I may decide to pull some of that tan out there as well. So I'm going to come in with the apple green first, and we're going to use the apple green the same way that we did the center tipple here. So I'm just coming in with that really nice light tension here, and I'm going to shade it in about halfway through the tipple, and you notice that I'm leaving light right over here. So I've got this whole area in here nice and soft, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab now that darker green, and I'm going to start to shade in nice and lightly, because remember, we don't have to press hard with that darker color. And then I'm just getting about halfway through the lighter color, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to press really nice and hard right on that outside edge, and that's where the orbness will come in on this piece, and it'll really start to electrify that tipple and make it look really nice and soft. So you've got that now. I'm going to go ahead and come in now with my gray, and look at how pretty it is when I start to come in with the gray next to the green. It just is such a luscious kind of feeling, and it also just gives that color a chance to pop. So I'm really getting in there, and now I'm going to go in with that medium tension, not unlike what you would do with the graphite. So if you're working with a graphite pencil, go for it. I'm left-handed, so working with graphite, I end up wearing it. So I'm not going to be using the graphite. But if you've got a nice dark gray, my favorite dark gray is this one right here. This is the 70% gray, which I love. I think this is the 70%. It could be, oh no, this is my 50%. That's fine too. The 70% is my favorite one. So we're going to go ahead and finish up with that gray. And you can see how nicely these two work with each other here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep on randomly interspersing my colors together. So I'll do a little bit of green, get those going, and then I'll just keep interspersing it with the gray. So I can come in here. Now for the smaller tipple, because I know some of you are going to wonder, all you have to do is just shade one side and leave a little bit of light, and that gives you the illusion that you're looking for. So, you know, on these little baby tipple, you can just shade one side and it gives that really nice illusion of color. So I'll come in over here and I'll do just a little bit in here as well. And you can see that just by doing that little space right in there, how much interest that brings into the piece here. So going up into the top, going all the way around and just playing it up and having fun with it. So go ahead and do your tipple. This is going to take a little bit longer because there are so many of them, but let yourself get into the zone. Tipple can be very relaxing to work with. It's just letting your mind go and be in the present moment. That's all you have to do, is just enjoy the shading and enjoy that you know where you're going. Take a deep breath, let it go with a sigh, and have some fun. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to finish up going all the way around with all the different colors in the tipple. And, you know, the green and the gray were really, really fun to work with. So I did a lot of green and a lot of gray in here. But then, you know, I had these little random spots where I took a little bit of that blue from the petals and just popped them into some of the tipple that I missed along the way. And you can see that it kind of gives a randomness to the piece, which I really like. So once you've finished with that, we're going to fold the piece so that it has dimensions. So, you know, having a flat star is just fine, but I really find that having a star with some dimension is really fun. And when you put it on your tree, or if you have it out in a place where you look at it, it's a lot of fun to work with, and just to have stars around hanging on the walls, that's always neat. And to have dimension is always fun to have that with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to do the fold now. So for this particular part, I'm going to flip the piece over so that I'm not folding on top of my color here. And you can see I have my star, and I'm just going to start to take the bottom part of my star and bring it towards the upper part of my star. And you'll see that I'm trying to line up my pieces the best that I can. And once I've got that nice spot, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold it right in half. Do your best with this. If you're slightly off, that's okay, but do your best to line it up as much as you can. So now I'm going to open up the piece and I'm going to go to the opposite side. So we just did this side. Now I'm going to do the opposite side, and I'm going to fold over like so. And I'm going to line it up the best way that I can using my finger to get a nice crease in there, and then I'm going to unfold. Now watch, I'm going to turn my piece clockwise here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Now I've already done that here, but I've got to go over and take this piece over here. So I'm just going to come around, fold it up. We're going to go into each corner and get it going. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn clockwise again, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just folding over, turning clockwise again, taking that piece, folding it over. Hopefully that this is pretty self-explanatory and clear. This one's giving me a little bit of trouble here, so I'm just going to really work to make sure that I line up my points the best way that I can. Until I've gone all the way around, which it appears that I have. And you'll know because you'll see that in every corner you have. Now see, look, I've got a line from each crease in each corner. That way I know that I've gone all the way around. So I'm going to turn my piece back over here, and this is kind of tricky what we're going to do, but hopefully it's self-explanatory. I'm going to push down into the V area. Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm just taking the legs and pressing down into the V area, and then taking the top of each leg and pushing them together. See how that's coming together like that? Now, I'm going to try to line those up the best way that I can. This one's giving me a little bit of trouble. And if you have to, you can go in and really press in towards the middle to get it to go. Once I've got that, I'm going to give it a little press. Get nice lines in there. And then I'll go to the next one. So you see I'm going to get right in between those two. Press down the center where the divot is in here. I'm getting a little creasing in here from the center of my star, so I'm going in and cleaning that up a little bit. I'm not an origami teacher. I'm just a Zentangle teacher folding stuff. All right, here we go. So you can see I've lined up those two legs. Getting that going. Going to the next one. Pressing those two together. Unfolding. Going to the next one. Pressing those two together. So that eventually you could just go ahead and fold all of the legs together. Can you see how I'm doing that? I'm just going around and folding all the legs together. Now, once you've done that, you're going to take your piece. You can see how my piece looks a little bit like it's a smushed star. All I'm going to do is I'm going to press down on the center, give it a little bit of a tap, and then that way you have a three-dimensional star, which is really, really fun. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and if you need to watch a little bit more, you can. You can always go back in and rewind. But that is my three-dimensional star. If you want to go ahead and do a little hole at the top and thread a string through it, that's what I did with a bunch of my other ones. You could take a little tack and make a little hole through the center and then thread a little thread through it, or thread a needle and do that. Or if you've got a nice hole puncher, you can grab your hole puncher and do that. So there is our Moroccan wish star. I wish you a happy solstice and a happy and healthy holiday. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube so that we get a little bit more traffic on the site. And this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. I hope you'll join us at our Tangled Yogi page on Facebook. All you have to do is look up Tangled Yogi on Facebook, or you can join our Tangled Yogi community and share your stars there on Facebook. Once again, it's Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi, signing off. Until next time, bye for now.